Hiya, welcome back to the channel. 330D, we've got an issue, which is yes, as you can clearly see, the drive shaft is fucked. So got a new one. I'm gonna attempt to put it on. By I say attempt, I mean looks like it's gonna piss it down. So I'm gonna try and do it. If it starts pissing down, I can't be arsed. But anyway, got the drive shaft to put on, which is there, as you can see quite clearly. And it is this side, which, well, basically the the CV joint's gone. And that happened last weekend, something like that. And since then the car has been, it's not been parked up since then, it's been moved to here since then. I got told by the AA and no, drive shaft's come. So anyway, stop talking shit and it's time to try and put it on. I'm hoping that it won't need too much force to come out, because this had a wheel bearing on it on this side about a year ago, 18 months ago. So the drive shaft has been out. So I'm hopeful that it's not going to be seized in like it was then. Anyway, let's get the wheel off and jack the shitter up. Also, don't know what part that is. I mean, that just fell down from, it was stuck between the diff and the bodywork. So that looks promising. So a good start would be to jack the vehicle up and remove the wheel. And now I've got the wheel off, we can see the extent of the fuck up that is. What's happened to the drive shaft. Anyway, before I go any further, I'm going to undo this nut. I'm going to see if the drive shaft will knock out. Hopefully it's not going to be seized up. Like I said, it has been out relatively recently. Fucking that's tight. Milwaukee. Right, so the shaft needs knocking out now, but first I'm going to get something for some strength, and this is going to be the strength to hit it hard enough to knock the shaft out. And now for the moment of truth. Yes, yes, it's actually moving. Now I would normally use, I'd use something to hit it with, but I ain't got 3 hands. I'm holding the camera. If it was seized up though, what I had to do last time was to take the disc off, and I'll show you the tool that I used. But basically, it's a 3-legged puller, and it was properly seized. It was really bad, and I put the 3-legged puller on as tight as I could, and then just twatted the end of it with a big hammer. So you preload it and then hit it. And it's probably the best way of getting a stuck shaft out. I mean, you don't want your shaft getting stuck, do you? Anyway, the next thing that's going to cause us problems is the actual drive shaft to unbolt is these little multi-spline bolts, which are E something or other. 10mm spanner actually fits them though, if I remember right. Anyway, that's not so much of a problem, but then I'm going to have to remove the, that anti-roll bar is going to cause issues next. So yeah, that's the next struggle. Oh, by the way, this is the puller that I used last time. You see it hook onto the hub and then tighten up against the drive shaft, and it's a nice fine thread, which means that the torque that you put on it is actually giving more force. And if it were a coarser thread, you wouldn't get as much pressing force. And then just knock the end of it with a big hammer really hard. So if it is stuck, that is a method that you can use, which I don't need to demonstrate, thankfully, because I really couldn't be arsed with that. Anyway, let's crack on. I've got to set this fucking anti-roll bar out of the way, Anna. So if it wants with this anti-roll bar, this would be a really easy job, as long as it's not seized up. But it's got the anti-roll bar just to make it more awkward. So as you can see, I'm just doing this now, and I'm going to hopefully be able to disconnect it and move it enough. I reckon that I will probably have to get to the other side, which is a bit more awkward, but in the meantime. The other thing is, it's only one side's jacked up, so it's going to be preloaded a bit, but it's not the biggest anti-roll bar, it's only a rear one, so I'll put a bar in it, maybe, I don't know yet. You'll find out when I do. Anyway, I'm going to undo this, take this off and see where it leaves me. Now the anti-roll bar bush is removed, the anti-roll bar is just as fucking solid, don't really want to go anywhere. So, I honestly, right, I just don't want to go underneath the other side and get under there, because the exhaust is in way. I'm lying on my back and I'm in a can't be bothered mood. So yeah, this is probably going to be a really shit video and it's not going to be really useful to anybody who's trying to do this job. But I'm going to try and get the anti-roll bar out of here. Now, whether that means undoing it up here or if I can just twist it a little bit and get it out of this rubber johnny, that's possible. So I'm going to fight with it a little bit. And I'll come back when I've decided whether I'm wasting my time or if I'm going to have to actually get on the other side of the car, which I'm trying to avoid at all costs at the moment. So, stay tuned for that. And I'm hoping that if I undo these, which is 17mm on the top and 13 at the bottom, that I won't have to go to the other side. And if you're doing this job or doing any job on a car on your back, when you feel like it's going to start pissing down, then you're probably like me, contemplating your life choices as to why you didn't do better at school and get a proper job, where either you can pay someone else to fix the fucking car or you need a new car that doesn't need fixing. But anyway, this is where we are, so let's just get on with it and stop mourning. Yes, moment of truth. And surprisingly, that seems to have worked a lot better than I thought it was going to. Yes, look at that. There we go. So that, well, that's one shaft sort of out. Now I need to undo those, which is an E12, which is basically a female Torx bit. Anyway, I've got some got a couple of extension bars on here to make the job easier. There we go. Yes. Now the stone's removed, then we shall proceed. I'm using an impact gun because I've got one, but if you haven't got one, then struggle with a ratchet. Now, one of the drawbacks of using extensions on with a buzz gun is that it takes away a lot of the torque of the buzz gun. So unfortunately, that didn't work. So now I am back underneath the fucking car, getting grease on my hands. Left it out of gear so I can turn this round, by the way. Anyway, let's take the rest of them out. Like so. And now, she's ready to take the shaft. I need to feed into a... Well, it's just like... It's not too bad actually, but it goes in like this. In the same way as the other one come out, is how this one goes in. Yeah, it's not working. I'm not left-handed. But let's just carry on struggling instead of putting the camera down. I'll just film the floor instead of putting the camera down. Ah, you fucker. Now once you've got it in place, you just put all your bolts back in the drive shaft. You might have to turn it round a bit to get the bolts in and what have you. Put all the bolts back in when they come out. Tighten up this one and then do the lock tabs on it. And then do everything opposite of what it was when you took it apart, which I'm going to skip most of that because I need to get on with this. So I'm going to get it so it's at a point where drive shaft's in, and I'm just going to put the anti-roll back in, I think. Let's see how that goes. And then once you've put it all back together, you can drive the car and make sure there's no ABS lights or traction control lights coming on the dash. No, seriously, I sort of forgot to film most of the video on reassembling it. It was the same as taking it apart from when I put the anti-roll bar bush back in. I had to use a pair of pliers to clamp it together, but other than that, it was the same as taking it apart but going forwards. But yeah, so if you are going to film a video on some sort of tutorial on how to do something, first it is advisable to know how to do what you're doing, and then film it, and don't forget to film most of the process. As ever, I am going to put this video up anyway because, well, if it's a fuck up or if it's not a fuck up. I mean, it's not a fuck up, the car's driving and everything, the job's done, but the actual video process is a fuck up, and I still going to post the video. So anyway, don't forget to check out my other videos and what have you. This is the worst one so far on the channel, I would say, but yeah, see you next time.